was life-changing for me because I grew up in a very critical household where, failure was seen as a bad thing and, you were dumb or you were stupid and so it was really hard for me to embrace failure. Take it personally. I think there was something wrong with me and to like really embrace it and say, hey, this is how I learn. This is how I grow.
Today's program is sponsored by the Genius Network, a virtual community for driven women entrepreneurs who growing generational wealth and making a positive impact on their communities and the world. Forget the hustle culture. This is a space for like-minded women to connect, do business together, learn and grow together, and to give and receive support with virtual events, message boards, resources, on-demand courses, group coaching, and much more. We are seeking women entrepreneurs who understand that millionaire status isn't enough and who are committed to lift as they rise. Find us at thegeniuscultivator.com and click on the Genius Network because you are a genius after all.
Hi there, everyone. This is Chris Fleming, the Genius Cultivator, here with a new friend to tell you how she's involved in what you're involved in. This is my friend Donna. And Donna, thank you so much for joining me today. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. My name is Donna Mick, and I am the owner of HNSB Capital Investments, which is a private money lending company that lends money to real estate investors who buy and hold real estate or buy real estate to rehab and resell.
That's fantastic. We definitely have a lot of folks always looking for other people's money. How did you get involved in that?
A few years back, I've always been interested in real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad like everybody and Think and Grow Rich, and it just turned me on to real estate. I originally purchased my first property through the tax sale, and then it just went from there. But I met a woman who was flipping houses, and I thought, I'd like to try that. After listening to everything that was on my plate, she's like, I don't know if flipping's for you. It's a lot of work, and you have a lot on your plate. She said, but have you ever thought about private money lending? And I said, what's that? And she told me. So we did one loan together, and then I was hooked. I was like, how did I not know this before? Because now, instead of flipping houses, I just flip paper, and it's a lot easier, a lot less stressful. But that's how I got started. It was just that one loan, and I was like, all right, I got to do more of this.
Yeah, and you typically don't even break a sweat, right?
Right. Yeah. It's, I actually feel that being a private money lender actually increased my confidence to go out there and do a rehab and things like that, because I've had rental properties, I've purchased rental properties, and I've done a lot of the work myself, but I just always kind of lacked a little bit of confidence in whether or not I really knew my numbers and things like that. So when I got into private lending, and my borrowers would send me their numbers, and I would walk the property and look at my numbers, and we were all very close, or sometimes I was right and they were wrong, right? And it really, I think, built my confidence in other areas, because once you learn about the money and where the money comes from and how it works, you realize that that's like the biggest problem. And once you've overcome that, then you're good. If the numbers work, you're always going to find the money. It's going to come if it's really a deal. I think that just really kind of solidified that for me.
That's fantastic. Do you flip now?
I don't. I still do buy and holds, but I did do 2 flips since then. And I've also taken on a new build. I have some land I'm going to be doing a new build on for resale. So yeah, so it's just
very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I love real estate. It's just so many things that you can do. You'd be surprised. I had pointed out to someone the one time, they went to a closing for me. They were in a loan with me, and they went to a closing to pick up the check because title would not release it unless they had sat piece. He called me. He was like, "Oh, that was kind of cool." And I said, and I just told him, you do realize how many people got paid on that transaction, right? Do you realize how many people get paid through one real estate transaction? And besides us, the realtor, the investor, so many people get paid on one real estate transaction. That's the power of real estate. There are so many different ways that you can be involved in it. If you don't want to flip, if you don't want to swing a hammer, if you don't you don't have to. There are still other ways that you can make money in real estate. And I just love it.
I had this exact conversation yesterday over lunch with an old friend who is interested in getting into investment real estate. And I absolutely blew his mind, I think, when I started explaining to him all the different ways that you can invest in real estate without actually having to have tenants.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was his biggest apprehension, was dealing with tenants, particularly in residential real estate. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, there are so many things that you can do that have absolutely nothing to do with tenants.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's a big thing for sure.
Yeah, I actually read this book because I'd like to do a little bit more. I'd like to learn a little bit about note investing. And even though the book didn't, I felt that it didn't really go a whole lot in depth about how to note invest,
Uh-huh.
but there was really good section in the book where the gentleman talked about multiple streams of income. And
Uh-huh.
that was what like really blew my mind. And I do work full time during the day, and I've been working towards leaving my W-2 job. What he gave me the idea to do is I have these two rental properties in the inner city that were free and clear. And I thought, well, when I retire, I'll just hold the note on them and get paid for 30 years. You know, no tenants, no toilets. I'll just be the mortgage, owner. And, for 30 years then once I retire. So, I purchased the one property at the tax sale. I lived in it with my kids for 15
Okay.
years. Then I moved to the place I'm in now. It's rented out. It's been rented out since 2016. From the day I lived in there, I rented out my garage, which was, generating me income. So, I'm still getting paid on it. But then when I go to retire, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with toilets,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the
Mm-hmm.
city. So when I retire, I'll do that, or I'll do for sale by owner, like something like that, where I
Mm-hmm.
have to be less involved, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Or even a master
Um,
lease.
Yep, yep, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's just the different things that you can do, I've bought a rental property subject to,
Uh-huh.
and it's amazing. Like the more you learn, even with lending, I started out private lending by myself. And
Uh-huh.
then as I grew more confidence, I partnered with a really close friend of mine where
Mm-hmm.
we would do it. Whoever had the most money would have first lien and he would have second lien, because I didn't know about fractionalized lending where you can bring it all together, right?
Okay.
So I was doing that for several years. And then eventually I started to deploy my mom's capital. And I was like, yeah, it's got to be a better way because, you got two separate documents. And what if I want to do it with somebody I'm not as cool with or I don't trust as
Mm-hmm.
much? And that's when I found fractionalized lending. And I started doing that at the end of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was my full year doing it. I was blown away by how much it increased the value of my company. I like tripled what I was making because I was able to deploy other people's capital,
Yes.
and get be able to put more of my capital to work. So yeah, it's just I love real estate. Can you get
Yeah.
it? I love real estate.
Same. Do you remember the name of that book?
I think it was something like note investing or something like that. It was a bigger pockets book, but it was specifically on note investing. Yeah. There's a
Mhm.
section in there where the guy talks about multiple streams of income, and I was like, oh my gosh, mind blown.
This one is difficult to get through. Have you read
I
this
have
one?
that. I have
Okay.
that. I haven't gotten all the
This
way
one
through it
reads,
because yeah.
yeah, it reads like a textbook. So it's
Yeah.
difficult to get through, but the information is good. And then I'm sure you're familiar with this one.
Yeah, that was a little bit difficult too, I think.
Yes.
I've been working
Yes.
through that.
For our viewers, this book is Real Estate Note Investing. It is from Bigger Pockets, and the author is Dave Van Horn. I did enjoy this one, was a bit easier read. If you're wondering why it's in such terrible shape, my husband accidentally dropped it in the hot tub for me when we were on vacation in San Diego.
So nice of him.
So it's been through it.
Yeah.
Sort of a classic, Invest in Debt by Jimmy Napier. This is definitely a little bit more difficult to get through. A
Yeah.
lot of examples in there. This one, you can see how much value I got from it
Yeah.
as reflected in the little flags, right? So the flags are, the more flags, the more value I got. but this one is The Hands-Off Investor by Brian Burke. This is actually also from Bigger Pockets.
Mm-hmm.
It does read like a painful textbook, but it's good information.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like there's just so many, different ways and avenues to
Yes.
invest that, you can start little.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also at the same lunch yesterday, I shared that my daughter made her first deal at 12 years old with $3,000.
Wow. How'd you do that?
Well, Mama did it for her,
Well,
but it
through
was in
her.
her name. But yeah, it was $3,000. She bought an option to help finance the acquisition of a commercial lot outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And the buyers were 7 other children.
Wow, that's awesome. That is really awesome. So did you do it through her IRA? Did you do it through an IRA for her?
No, we did it with an IUL.
She's young yet.
Yeah, she is. She'll be 14 actually on Monday. Well, tell us about your best deal or your worst deal or your strangest deal. What stands out in your mind when people say, what is the most traumatic thing that you've had happen? 1 or 2 of those.
So, okay. So my best deal, I will break it down. Okay.
Yeah.
My best deal to date, right? And this is why I love private money lending. Okay. So I did a loan. The loan was for $310,000.
Okay.
My loan origination fee is 2 points. So that means automatically I make $6,200 to originate the loan, right? Plus there are some other fees like document fees, things like that, but basically flat $6,200, right? I had other investors with me on the loan, and my contribution to the loan was $5,000. So at closing, I made more money than I put in. Okay. And then my $5,000 was actually the final draw. Okay. And the way that I set up my contracts is they don't have the final draw until the property is on the MLS or under contract to be sold. So basically, I issued that loan, that $5,000 stayed in my bank earning, whatever interest. I earned $50 every month on that $5,000, right? Plus the $6,200. And the person, my loans are 6 months only. And the person went past their maturity date and I have a 2% penalty. So I made another $6,200 on my $5,000.
Nice.
So that is the power of fractionalized lending, because you can put other people's money to work. You can make them money because all my lending partners made money. And then I put in a very small amount and got paid on that.
Yeah.
So like how much is that? That's like $6,200. Yeah, it's like over $1,300 I made on one loan on $5,000.
That is amazing.
So to me, that was another thing that just really had me sold. Like I could put in 5,000 and get out 13. Where can you do that, right? Where can you do that? So
that definitely beats my $5,000 story. I have to say, I had a request once for $70,000, and as they say, I was about $65,000 light at the time, but I said yes. And then I called a friend and I said, "Hey, would you like to put $65,000 to work?" And she said yes. So what I did was I offered her a rate of return, and then that she was satisfied with. And then I wrapped my $5,000 around her 65 and charged a higher rate of return on the entire 70. So therefore, I doubled my money, but I only doubled my money. I didn't almost triple it. So you got
if they wouldn't have went past their maturity date, you know what I mean? Then, but either way, I got over 100% of my investment back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On day one, actually, and still had my investment in the bank. Yeah. Imagine that. Think about that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those but that's my next step. So, we grow as we learn. When, I first did the loan, I would say that the individual taught me how to do a loan to them, not necessarily how to be a private money lender.
Okay.
So I didn't know about points. I didn't know, there were certain things I didn't know that you could charge, or you could, so as you learn, you grow and you do better. And, they didn't tell me, hey, you should vet the person financially. Now, there are some debates about that. There are a lot of private money lenders I know that don't. They'll just do it based on the deal and the person's ability to make the deal happen. I don't do that, because if that deal goes south, I need to protect my investments.
Yes.
My motto is secure the bag. So every step of the way, I secure the bag. I secure the bag. I secure the bag with my contracts, with my, insurance requirements, with like every step of the way that I do my reverse draws. Everything I do is to make sure that I have less money in that deal than what the property is worth. Every step of the way, I just secure the bag. But a lot of it was a learning curve. One of the properties, one of my first closet, they have a purchase and rehab. I used to like give the rehab draws up front. I don't do that anymore. And another thing that I do before I will release any additional money after closing, I have to have proof of the lien being recorded. Because one of the first loans I did with my main borrower, he came to me and he was like, hey, the property's done, because it was a real quick, like, in and out. And I was like, well, I still haven't even gotten my documents from a title company. And I thought, well, maybe I missed it. And I went online and I was searching, and everything was still in the previous owner's name. The title company had not filed. So lesson learned. I said, oh my God, what do I got to do to prevent this in the future? And now that's part of my contract. So I've really taken any things that happened that could have potentially been negative or been like really detrimental, and every time I just tweak my contracts. I had a flipper purchase a property, and we issued him the funds, and the property wasn't too far away from my house. And I would email him and say, Dad, you must really like paying electric bills, because your boys be leaving that electricity on all day, right? Or, just little things. And I'd say, how's the progress? Oh, we're going to get started. I'm finishing up this one project. We're going to start. I'm like, okay. And it just kind of seemed a little strange to me, but I didn't think anything of it. So the one Sunday, I had an investing partner with me, and we had went to look at a property we were invested in together. And I said, hey, I have this property around the corner from you. You want to see that one too? And she said, sure. And we went to the property, and people were there cleaning it out. I said, oh, hey guys, how you doing? I said, hey, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take this girl in here. And they're like, well, the owner's in there. I said, what do you mean the owner's in there? Yeah, she's in there and she has a dog. You should be careful. I said, this property is supposed to be vacant. Called bar right away. I was livid. And, well, at the table, she said she didn't have anywhere to go. So, I told her I'd let her stay. I said, no. That was a phone call to me. You should have contacted me right away. And then I would have had my attorney draft up documents. Like, it's okay, but we would have had things in place.
Right.
So that, you know what I mean? So like, this is my money. Right. And not only that, I brought my investing partner there, and you just embarrassed me. You made it look like I don't know what's going on in my projects and my deal. So of course, now there's a clause in my contract that says, before we close, you need to show me that nobody is there. You have to prove that to me, that they're vacant, before I will give clear to close. Everything is a learning lesson. Like, I am a little bit of a freaker outer. I'm like, that's just my process. But once I'm done, I've got a plan, and I can, implement. It's just the way my brain works. It's kind of squirrely. But everything that I've been through, I've learned how to, what I call, fail forward. I read a book years ago, and that's what it was called, Fail Forward. And it was life-changing for me, because I grew up in a very critical household where, failure was seen as a bad thing, and, you were dumb or you were stupid, and so it was really hard for me to embrace failure, take it personally. I think there was something wrong with me, and to like really embrace it and say, hey, this is how I learn. This is how I grow. And my kids used to get mad at me because they'd come home and they'd have a test, and they'd say, well, I got a 98. Well, do you know why you got the one or two wrong. Oh, that's not good enough for you. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, did you learn those things that you got wrong?
Yes.
Did you learn? Did you understand? Did you go back and revisit that and figure
Yes.
out why you did it wrong, so that next time you're prepared, or you it's a learning experience. What did
Yes.
you learn from it? But yeah, that's a really a tough one. I think people really are afraid of failure, and I think that's why they don't move forward and they stay stuck.
Research indicates that the people who are the most successful are the people who are also the most failed.
Yeah,
They
I believe that.
do fail forward, and that is how they become successful.
Yeah,
And we only hear about and think about the successes, but we
right,
don't necessarily dwell on the 10,000 times they failed prior to that.
right. And
Uh,
may not even know, because it's like hidden in the dark. That's one thing that really irritates me, is when people say, "Oh, it must be nice." Must be nice what? I'm up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning working, because I work full time for the Commonwealth. I am a landlord. I do my own property management. Like right now, I'm in the process of tenant screening to place someone. I'm a notary, a notary signing agent. You know what I mean?
uh-huh.
And I'm a private money lender. And some days I go to bed at 4 and I wake up at 7 to go to work. Like,
Mhm.
what is nice about it? Like, I've
Right.
made a lot of sacrifices. I didn't live beyond my means when I was younger.
Mhm.
We were very frugal. My dad taught me, if you can't pay cash for something, you don't buy it. Well, I literally
Mhm.
took that to heart and bought my own house cash. How many
Wow.
people have the discipline to do that?
Not many.
Of course I bought it at the tax sale. It was only like 30 or $31,000.
That still
But how
counts.
many people have the discipline to do that? To
Mhm.
save that
Mhm.
money? Or, once I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, there was just this thing in me that said, I'm not going to continue to work for a company for the rest of my life.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I suffered a really tragic tragedy when my dad died. My dad had worked over 30 years
Mhm.
for the post office. He retired in like November. By like March, he had this episode where he had a seizure, and the doctors kept saying he had a stroke with a seizure with a stroke with seizures secondary to stroke. And I kept saying, something ain't right. And a few months later, he had another episode. Ended up having to go in a drug-induced coma, and eventually, after 9 months of them not knowing what was going on, we found out he had an inoperable brain tumor. And then the following March, he was gone.
Wow.
And
So
not just,
1 year.
yeah, and so seeing that, and like, you worked all your life and devoted all your life to the post office, and what they gave you was a certificate and a cheap ass watch, right? And then on top of it, you didn't get to watch your grandkids grow.
Yeah.
And then my employer at the time was not, they didn't care. And the way that they treated me just made me realize, like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I actually used to want to take over corporate America. I started out of high school at Pennsylvania Blue Shield. I worked my way up. I got several promotions. I was like really doing well in that space. And after the situation with my dad, I'm like, why am I going to do that? I had already been through 2 layoffs. And then the situation with my dad, and I thought, why am I going to work so hard for this company that doesn't care about me? If I leave here tomorrow, whether I leave on my decision or God takes me,
Mhm.
they're going to have that filled. And I'll lay you 10 to 1, not one person at my job is going to cry for me.
Oh, yeah. I
You
mean, if
know?
I remember feeling that way. If I die at this desk, my role will be posted for a new employee before I'm
End of
in the
day.
grave.
Yep.
Before I'm buried,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
role will
And
be
that was
posted.
it for me. That was really, so that's when I was really searching and trying to figure out, how do I do this? And private money lending, thankfully, now is going to be the way I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
Technically, based on last year, I could more than retire, but I'm a very cautious person. This
Mhm.
is my only livelihood. And so my goal is to have over 2.5 years worth of tax returns, doing it as a fractionalized lender. And also, I'm filing as a C Corp, so I'll have W-2 income, so that when I leave my W-2, I'll still look on paper as though I have W-2. So I'm trying to
Okay.
set everything up, because a lot of people, they just jump and oh, I'm just going to retire, but then they have no plan, and then stuff doesn't go as they had hoped.
Right.
So when I leave corporate America, I'm leaving. I'm
Yeah.
not going back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather stretch it out a little bit longer and dot all my I's, because I've never been through an '08 market as a private money lender.
Mm.
And I don't know, like, things are changing. And so I want at least 2.5 good solid years of
Mm-hmm.
those changes, and, doing it with lending partners, because, this is newer with me with the lending partners. And I just want to make sure that the wheels are greased and able to go and run on their own. I did purchase a loan processing system
Yeah. What'd you
in
get?
June. And I cannot believe I am bored now. I have too much time on my hand now, because the system does like everything for me for the most part.
Which
Um,
system did you get?
Today's program is sponsored by the Genius Network, a virtual community for driven women entrepreneurs who growing generational wealth and making a positive impact on their communities and the world. Forget the hustle culture. This is a space for like-minded women to connect, do business together, learn and grow together, and to give and receive support with virtual events, message boards, resources, on-demand courses, group coaching, and much more. We are seeking women entrepreneurs who understand that millionaire status isn't enough and who are committed to lift as they rise. Find us at thegeniuscultivator.com and click on the Genius Network, because you are a genius after all.
Which system did you get?
it's called Lender, Lendr.
Okay.
I actually tested it over a year ago,
Mm.
and I wasn't quite where I thought I would need to be for that particular system. And it was a little bit pricey at that time, and it didn't have all the features that it does now.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine had sent an email out that he had his set up. And I'm like, what is that? And I went out and looked, and I was like, oh, I know what this is. And
Yeah.
then I called the gentleman up, and he walked me through it again. He did a new demo on all the stuff that they offered. And I was like, sign me up. So I signed up in June, and I've already done 9 loans through it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I'm working
I
with them to get the document generation set up.
uh-huh.
But right now, the system goes in every month. The first of the month, it goes in and takes out my interest payments from my borrowers. And then after so many days, once it's in my account, then I can set it up to send out the payments automatically to my lending partners. So life-changing.
Yeah.
Systems. You got to have systems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I specifically wanted you to tell us which product, because I have tested quite a few. It's been a couple of years though, so it might be time to test them again. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, at the time I was like, none of them are quite what I need.
Hmm.
And the one that is really robust is probably more than I need and is cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So,
That's kind of what I came across, because even with Lender, when I first was working with him, I was like, I'm not at that level. It's not worth it for me to purchase it right now. But it definitely has grown and changed. They've done. I mean, I first started, he was doing it more. It was set up more for like if a person had a fund.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't have a fund. I do fractionalized lending, which is
Right.
different. And so I shared with him all my documents and stuff. And I guess he's used some of that knowledge and information from talking with me and other fractionalized lenders to like really build out the system.
Nice.
So once I saw it, I was like, that's what I need. That's what I
Yeah.
need. And I love it because, number one, it makes me look more professional. The
Yes.
borrower can come right in through my portal, apply for the loan. My investing partners have their own portal. The system generates a mortgage statement every month. It generates a statement to my lending partners to let them know what interest they're receiving. So I just feel like even just it gives me more validity, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I talk to people at events, like when they hear me speak and they know that I know what I'm doing, but I think it just kind of is like that bow, that final
Yes.
package,
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? Anything?
I'd start in real estate from
Just go straight through
I
it.
was in a car accident when I was 16 years old, and I think it settled when I was like 18 or 19. I would have invested in real estate. And it's so crazy because I actually wanted to buy my dad a house. And my dad was like, sweetie
Oh.
peatsy, nah, sweetie peatsy, you don't need to. But that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to buy my dad a house. So even back then, I knew to purchase, an asset.
Uh-huh.
So I would have gotten started sooner. I encourage my kids to be entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I'd rather you be an entrepreneur and work hard for yourself than and be able to make the decisions than have to work for another person. It's terrible. I hate it. I just don't think I'm the type of person that belongs in these environments, especially state government, because they don't do anything that makes sense. And I'm like, I'm a work smarter, not harder person. And
I have worked for government and I have worked for corporations, and I'll just go ahead and tell you it's not that different.
yeah, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Um it's shocking to me the number of people who seem to, and look, friends who are listening, I am not saying this universally about everybody who is a W-2 employee. Please do not hear that. But y'all know someone in your organization who works harder at getting out of working than if they would work if they actually just did the job. They
Yeah.
work harder at not doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the one
and
thing that irritates me the most is, and it's probably just because of me and how my brain works, but I have to understand how everything works together. Like I like but one of my strengths is like I like to work smarter, not harder. And one of my strengths, because I've been a business analyst over the years, is I can go into places and I can streamline them. I can see where you're working too hard. I can see, and so with government, it's just difficult because
it's everywhere.
well, they don't use a lot of common sense,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it is frustrating.
Yeah.
You definitely have to have systems in place. You want to do things smarter, not harder. Like, who wants to work harder? Not me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, if you could imagine that you're talking to your daughter.
Okay.
You told me that you have a 21-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So my standard question is, if you could give your younger self 3 pieces of advice, what would they be? But we could use your daughter instead of
Okay.
yourself.
Just giving
You
her
could give
this
her
advice
3
last
pieces,
night.
and she'll listen. And she'll listen.
Um, First and foremost, um, love yourself.
Yes.
Love yourself so that you know your value, you know your worth, and you don't sell yourself short. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of years selling myself short and overcompensating and making myself smaller to fit in those spaces. So don't do
Yes.
that. Let's see, what's another thing? Invest in real estate. I
Uh-huh.
try to tell my kids, I don't want your first house to be a single family. I want your first house to be a multi. If you
Uh-huh.
just listen to your mom on this one thing, if you choose to work, then that money is all for you. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? That one purchase can set you up and make your life so much easier. And they don't tell us that you can do that using an FHA loan.
Mm-hmm.
So not just my children, I tell everybody I meet that, because like I just want to empower people through real estate, like you
Yes.
just don't know the power that you have.
Yes.
So that would be, yeah, probably that. And then what's another thing? I was telling her this last night. Spend your youth, your teens through 20s, maybe even early 30s, traveling, figuring life out. My daughter, both my kids, my rule is you can, up to age 25, you stay here. You don't have to pay nothing, right? I don't need your money. But what I expect of you is that you either go to school, educate yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
you go to work. And while you're in my home, you save money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to pay a bill. I don't need you to pay anything, but I
Mm-hmm.
need you to, save and build.
Mm-hmm.
But I also always tell her, because my daughter's super responsible like me. And I always tell her she became a groomer. She loves her job. And I keep telling her, you know, you don't have to work 40 hours a week. You're still 20. You don't have to do that. If you want to drop back to 20 hours and you want to do that and then you want to go out and travel, I got you.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Because and know yourself, like travel, learn yourself, because what happens is we don't do that and we get in these relationships then at such a young age because we don't know ourselves and they don't serve us, and they can really cause us to waste a lot of time and have a lot of heartache. Whereas if you go out and you travel and you learn yourself and you explore, you're going to not want to do those things. You know, you're going to want to be with people who do more of that, and it's going to align you with I think people that can take you more places.
I agree. There's nothing to open our perspective better than being immersed in a different culture.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Seeing how other people live their lives and treat each other. And we can't help but make comparisons like, oh, that's different than how we do it at home, and I like it or I don't.
Right.
And that helps us decide who we want to be rather than, you know, our community, our localized society telling us who we are, and we just go with it. It forces us to make comparisons and decide who we want to be.
Yes.
That is fantastic advice.
I mean,
Thank you for that.
And not just that, like it makes you grateful for what you have.
Yes.
You know, you go like, even like when I went to Jamaica, you know, you see these kids all happy, and I'm like, man, American kids being miserable. They can't, you know, get their way, this, that. And these kids, they don't got nothing, and they're out there, you know. There's this artist I like, India Irie. I love her because she's very positive. Of course, you know, she doesn't get a lot of airplay because she's speaking positivity. And there's this song called There's Hope. And I love that song. And she talks about, you know, there's a guy that she meets and he's blind and he's like, you know, in a shack. And she's like, oh, you know, like, I feel so sorry for you. And he's like, why? You know, it's beautiful here. It's, you know, it's his mind. It's his mentality that he sees the beauty. He doesn't even see, you know, what is happening to him. He doesn't see that as a negative, you know, he sees it as a positive. And I think that sometimes in America, that's where we lose sight, is there are people in these countries that don't have anything compared to what we do, and they're still happy. Happiness is a choice.
Well, and even right here in the US, you know, I'm in Tennessee, and in East Tennessee, I'm just outside of Nashville, but in East Tennessee, there is still a tremendous level of poverty. There are levels, you know, third world country levels of sanitation and water. I mean, they don't have, there are pockets of US population where they still don't have indoor plumbing and steady water supply in Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah. And then certainly in Native American lands, water supply is a huge issue.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you wouldn't think that. That was something that I'm looking into. I'm looking to do like some volunteer opportunities and stuff, because even like I was thinking about doing missions, but a lot of times they go to other countries. So I was actually wanting to find something here. You know what I mean? Because like, stuff like that, you don't realize that. Like, you think because you have it that everyone else in America has those things. And I'm like, water. They don't have water.
Yeah. The most basic necessity for human life. Water.
Yes. Yeah. And so, we're very fortunate. Like, I think we don't know it. And I think travel is definitely a way to help you see that. For sure.
Well, Donna, this has been absolutely delightful, eye-opening, educational, and fun. How can people contact you if they want more information or want to work with you?
You can look me up on Facebook or Instagram. It's just Donna Mick, M-I-C-K. Or if you want to reach me via email, you can reach me at dmick@hnsd.org. pcapital.com.
That's P like Paul.
Yeah, it stands for Hump, Nose, and Sweetie Peetsy. That's my dad's. His nickname was Hump Nose, and he called me Sweetie Peetsy. So that's the Hump Nose and Sweetie Peetsy.
Very cute. Very cute.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Donna.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to talking to you again very soon.